started Elmore Roots Nursery back in 1981, and since then, the Elmore Roots crew and I have been working very hard as pioneers to test and observe which fruit and nut varieties and berry plants really thrive on one of the coldest hillsides in Vermont. Over the years, the Elmore Roots crew and I have noticed that summer and fall take quite a toll on our ability to grow and transplant trees during Vermont's short growing season. We were researching ways to extend the transplanting season, and an innovative method developed in Missouri came to our attention, where they utilize gravel beds as the growing medium for young trees. We received a grant from the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food and Market Specialty Crop Block Grant Program to an experiment with this system for the first time in northern Vermont. In the fall of 2020, we designed and installed 10 gravel beds at Elmore Roots. The beds were created utilizing rough-cut 2x10-inch local hemlock boards configured into 16-foot by 16-foot beds. The frame for each bed was 20 inches high. Once the framing of the beds was completed, each individual bed was filled with pea stone gravel. In April of the following spring, we planted each of the beds with rows of bare root apple, pear, cherry, and plum trees. We gently covered all the roots with pea stone gravel.
For each one.
Once our trees showed they were well established by their full, thick leaf growth, we knew they had developed an excellent bushy root system that would support this leaf growth. We were now ready to see how they would transplant and to see just how much root development they had made in a few short months in our new gravel beds. So you can see them starting to sprout the new roots, which will keep growing and then become a whole nice root ball. We were hoping that the benefits would include eliminating the need for potting trees in plastic containers, decreasing the amount of plastic pots as well as pot filling mix that we used each year, decreasing the labor and resources needed to dig up, move, and transplant trees, which would make it easier to move and plant more trees in less time, improving plant vigor by eliminating circling roots within the restrictive containers, decreasing root vigor, and by eliminating the damp, enclosed, and protective environment where pests and disease could thrive. During the summer and into the fall of 2021, we did a number of comparisons between trees growing in gravel beds and trees growing in more traditional settings like plastic pots and in the ground. These comparisons yielded some very sharp contrasts that supported our hypothesis that utilizing a gravel bed system would be beneficial for improving plant health, decreasing nursery costs, and improving the business's bottom line. Most importantly, it showed that healthy, thriving trees with amazing root systems can be grown in northern Vermont in only 5 months' time utilizing a gravel bed system.
At Elmore Roots, we move a lot of trees. Sometimes that's here on the farm. Often that is doing plantings for customers, putting in orchards. And we generally have two options. One is that they're going to receive plants that are in giant pots. These pots could weigh something upwards of 60 pounds. Other option are these new Missouri gravel beds, where we would be pulling these trees out of gravel beds, wrapping them up in moist sawdust and a bag so that the roots don't dry out. In this case, they're relatively easy to pull out of the ground, definitely easier than pulling something out of the earth. One of these trees with one hand, it's a very different experience than a heavy, giant pot.
But you can actually transplant these trees in the middle of the summer once it's rooted, compared to something that's in the ground where if you tried to do it, it would most likely not make it. So not only is it easier to dig these trees out of the ground, but it gives you more flexibility on planting them.
I feel better about selling the gravel bed trees because you have that reassurance of seeing this giant, healthy root system. I have faith that in the future that tree is going to be really healthy.
Here at Elmore Roots, we are now committed to growing our fruit trees predominantly by the gravel bed method, and to use these for transplanting going forward. And we hope that other nurseries in Vermont and fruit tree growers and specialty crop growers will also adopt this method as they strive to have the best trees for transplanting for their operations.